Hi, this is Jeff Williams from Fernie, British Columbia, Canada, and I play at the Fernie Golf Club. This is Golf Smarter, number 1001.
In golf, you aim at a spot, but you play to an area. You have your aim line, a target that you want the ball to start on, where you hope it ends up. So you have a clear picture of the whole trajectory and shape of the shot. The better picture you have, the better your body will respond to it. But it's best to do that within an area because we all have a dispersion pattern. You want to give yourself the most room to play, and that takes outcome out of the situation. Give yourself the best chance for your fewest strokes without taking an unnecessary risk. And that's the game plan you have on every hole and every shot, regardless of your score. And this makes a huge difference to take worry about results out of the picture.
Every round has its own psychological amen corner with Dr. Joe Perrin of Zen Golf.
This is Golf Smarter, sharing stories, tips, and insights from great golf minds to help you lower your score and raise your golf IQ. Here's your host, Fred Greene.
Welcome back to the Golf Smarter podcast, Dr. Joe.
Hi, Fred.
I had to take a long, deep breath before I said that because episode 1001 is your appearance because you were episode 1. So I thought it was the perfect time to have you come back. And it's not like you've only been on episode 1 and 1001. I went through my database today, and this is your 18th appearance. How appropriate is that it's your 18th appearance?
All right.
We're on the final green here.
Finish the round.
We finished. No, I hope not.
The first day. Finish the first day. We have three more rounds to go.
Oh, my gosh. 4,000 episodes in 20 years. 1,000 episodes in 20 years.
Oh,
we may not be around for even for the fourth round. Absolutely not. But I really have loved having you on the show. I mean, from the very beginning, the name Golf Smarter has meant how do we as amateur and recreational golfers, and to quote you in episode 1, how do we get out of our own way? And there are so many quotes that you've given me over the years that I continue to repeat on the golf course. And people are like, how do you keep your mind straight with all the stuff that you have in your head? I said, I can't. There's just, after this many interviews.
Right. You pick and choose and you write a couple of them down for the day.
And get out of your own way is way up on the list, including great putt. You didn't make it, but you made the putt. You just didn't hole it.
Hole it. That's right. You didn't hole it. We changed the definition of making a putt. If you love the way it left the putter, you made your putt.
Yep.
Then you see if it goes in or not. And even, I had a player who said, yeah, I missed that one, just lipped out. I said, see, the thing is, it's not a perfect surface. And the golf balls aren't perfectly manufactured to the atomic level. So when you roll, you could roll 10 beautiful 12-foot putts and only 7 would go in. There was a study done that, rolling them down a ramp. So they rolled exactly the same each time. Only 7 out of 10 went in. So if it was really, really close, you say, I wouldn't have putted it any different. That's just the rub of the green. That's why we have that phrase, the rub of the green. Now, if it didn't come close, then you have an opportunity to learn from it. But you can only learn from it if you felt like you rolled the putt that you wanted to. And if you rolled the putt that you wanted to, you made your putt. And then not all of them are going to go in, but you can make every putt.
It shocks people when you tell them that, on the tour, from 10 feet, they're at 50%. So don't beat yourself up.
And that's the thing. Do you want, because of that percentage, do you want your confidence based on whether it goes in or not, or do you want your confidence based on your execution? And that needs to go through your whole game, because after the ball leaves the club face, all you can do is root for it.
Yeah. So your confidence based on execution, not on the results. Wow. Okay. I love that. I'm taking notes. I always take a lot of notes when we have our conversations. And another line that you've had over the years that I've just repeated again and again, especially when I see people getting frustrated and getting angry with themselves, it's like, remember the Etch-a-Sketch? Just take your Etch-a-Sketch, flip it over, shake it, erase it, start again. Start from zero.
That's the challenge with the new generation. Etch-a-Sketch was a toy that our generation had 2 generations ago. So now it's just select all, delete.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's it.
Command A.
Command A, delete. Select all, delete.
Yep. A new way of doing it. Well, your books have been an amazing success. And I'd like to go over each one if at all possible. We can do this today, but we have to start with Zen Golf. And I had read Zen Golf when I was new to the game. And when I thought about doing the podcast and asked a friend of mine who had already started podcasting back in 2005, I said, how do I get started? And he goes, find somebody with a name. And so it was like, well, I just read this amazing book about golf. I'll reach out. And I reached out to Dr. Joseph Parent, and there you were saying, Sure. But what you didn't say was, what's a podcast and what's iTunes? Which I received that answer so many times in those first couple of years, but you were game for it. You loved the idea.
Yeah.
And that's why you've been on so many times.
Well, Zen Golf was written, somebody said, how long did it take to write Zen Golf? Well, it took the 40 years of my work, but then sitting down and writing was a couple of years. And it got published in May, ironically, almost exactly 23 years ago, 2002. Mm-hmm. So, and it's gotten around the world. One of my favorite stories is when you took a group into Japan and went to a remote monastery that you couldn't actually use motorized transportation to get to. It was like boats that had to be pushed along a river and up
Kyoto. I was in Kyoto. Yeah.
Up to this monastery where the Zen master was talking about applying Zen to life, and he said, "Well, you guys do that in this. Isn't there this book, Zen Golf?
The Golf of Zen," he said, or the Zen of Golf is what he called it. And I'm like, wait a minute, that's one of my teachers. He goes, what? I said, you read that book? Yeah, I love that book.
Isn't that funny that it's gotten to those remote corners of the world? So it's really gratifying. I don't want to toot my own horn.
I want you to.
It's
toot.
The key thing is I tried to make it very accessible. When we were doing the editing, it was like, can I say that in a word with less syllables? And make it real lessons. There's no theory in it. It all comes out of lessons that I've taught. So I love it when somebody says, I read Zen Golf, and I think you were hiding in the bushes watching me when you were getting ready to write, because it has a lot of universals in it, and that's why it has lasted this long.
Well, let's talk about the book. Let's pretend like this is the first time we're doing this, and please introduce, because, there's a lot of listeners who've been here for a long time and have heard you many times, and hopefully there's some new ones as well. But I think this is a really important book to introduce people to.
Well, I'll just present a couple of different. It's in 5 sections, and the first section is taking a different perspective. And that's basically focusing on what's right with us rather than what's wrong with us. So with the intention of building unconditional confidence, not confidence based on how you've done recently, but based on your underlying abilities and underlying character. So that the focus is to say, okay, it's not that I need something that I'm missing, I've added more on. So I need to clear it away. And as you said, your favorite expression is get out of your own way. And so lately what I've been telling, and I love doing this when I do a talk to a group of juniors, they really get a kick out of it. I said, well, you feel like something's missing, so you add this technique on, and then you add this idea on, and then this swing thought on, and you keep adding more on. And I call that moron golf. You want to clear away the extra stuff, clear away the interference, and let yourself swing the way you're capable of. So that's the first section, taking a different perspective. And the second section is actually the second, third, and fourth sections are the PAR approach. So there's preparation, action, response to results. And preparation is making a plan that you can commit to and feeling a sense of trust so you can settle in and swing without worry. Then the action is actually doing that, being aware and going through your routine and focusing not so much on the outcome, but on the process, as they say across the pond. I'm working with a lot of European golfers. So the process of preparing to hit the best shot you can possibly hit. And the focus there is love the way it leaves. After it leaves, all you can do is root for it. But if you do everything you can in your pre-shot routine, in your practice swing, in your addressing the ball, in your setup, and commit to the plan that you made, trust the swing feel you have, and you're going to hit your best shot, and focus only on that. That's the action part. Now, one thing I wanted to mention on the preparation part is you take the challenges, I don't even want to call them hazards, you take the challenges of the shot into account, and then give yourself the most room to play. Because in golf, you aim at a spot, but you play to an area. So if you give yourself room to play, that allows you to commit to the shot without feeling like you have to help it or protect or prevent it from going somewhere. So you have a positive picture, a clear positive picture. You have a commitment to the plan you made and a plan you can commit to. And then you take a good settling breath and get yourself settled and ready to act. So that's preparation, action, and then response to results. This was, 23 years ago. And still, most people don't have a post-shot routine. I introduced the post-shot routine. And that is, after you hit the shot, don't leave that spot with a bad swing. Erase and replace. Make the swing you wish you'd made, and then use that feel as preparation for your next shot. Then, but if you hit a really good shot, don't just go, oh, thank you, I'll take any more of those. Give yourself some reinforcement and say, that's how I always hit it. And then it brings it back to your preparation. When I prepare for the shot really well and commit. So in Japanese, that's called Kaizen, which means the path of continuous improvement. So if you do these three things, the preparation, the action, and then the response to results that makes your preparation better next time, you actually get better as you play.
But we're not done. There's a third part we have to get to, and I want to go to it. There's so many things that you said in the last section that I need to go back to, but I want to continue on where we were with Zen Golf.
Okay,
Please.
So we have 5 different sections. The middle is the 3 parts of the PAR approach, and the 5th and last section is called a game of honor, and that's more about the spirit of golf. I introduce the principles of something called Shambhala golf. My Buddhist teachers talked about an ideal society called Shambhala, which is interesting. It's an ancient Asian legend. And when the British came to Tibet, they heard about it, but they mispronounced it. Instead of Shambhala, they called it Shangri-La. So it's an Eden, an ideal society. And the principles that we talked about in relation to golf are virtue, discipline, humor, and friendship. And that is the essence of the game is good. It takes discipline to get the most out of your game. A sense of humor is essential, given the vagaries of golf. And the key to engaging in the game is that we do it with others, with a spirit of friendship and mutual support.
Important.
So we talk about that and talk about the attitude, and I introduce the attitude of some great professionals in the past and how they exemplify the best qualities. That golf can bring out the best qualities of us as human beings. And on the flip side, it can bring out the frustrations and the negative emotions. So we have to make a choice as we play which one we want to move towards, the light or the dark.
Do I have to flip a coin on that one?
It's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy. And probably you've mentioned it many times. I know about focus on the process, not the results. I mean, you may be the first one to tell me that, but it's been repeated by many mental coaches that we've featured on the show. But, and again, you may have said this before, but it's jumping out to me now, and that's you play to a spot, but you hit to an area.
You aim at a spot.
Aim at a spot.
But you play to an area.
Okay, good.
You aim at a spot, so you have, and sometimes it's two. You have your aim line, a target that you want the ball to start on, and if you're going to shape it at all, where you hope it ends up. So you have a clear picture of the whole trajectory and shape of the shot. The better picture you have, the better your body will respond to it. But you have to do that. It's best to do that within an area because we all have a dispersion pattern. Even the robots that they use to test golf balls and golf clubs on, the ball doesn't land in exactly the same spot. It's an area. It's a very small area compared to our amateur area, but it is an area. So you want to give yourself the most room to play, and that fits with the game plan that I have introduced that takes outcome out of the situation. And that is give yourself the best chance for your fewest strokes on the hole without taking an unnecessary risk. And usually we talk about that as birdie. For amateurs, it's net birdie. Give yourself the best chance for net birdie without taking an unnecessary risk. And that's the game plan you have on every hole and every shot, regardless of your score. And this makes a huge difference to take worry about results as far as score goes out of the picture. If you watch golf tournaments as the players are coming down the back nine, if they have a lead, they start worrying about giving any back. And it changes their game plan from how do I play my best shots to how do I not make a mistake. And that inevitably leads to stumbles.
I want to go back for a moment to the 2025 Masters and Rory's phenomenal final round that had a lot of ups and downs in the round. Did you get a chance to watch any of it?
Yeah, and you know, Amen Corner at the Masters is 11, 12, and 13. And what I say, every closing round has a psychological Amen Corner. Because right at that point in the round, you're running out of holes. You can see the finish line, but it's a little early for the adrenaline to kick in for your final kick. And so it's a place where Rory in the 2025 Masters had just birdied number 10, had a 4-shot lead. And you could tell his thinking started going to, how do I bring it home rather than how do I keep playing well?
Right.
And he had striped little baby draws, huge, not little, huge little draw with a little draw on it, down the fairway, shot after shot after shot. On number 11, a very tentative push into the trees. And we don't know what was going on with that little wedge shot on 13 that he dumped in the creek, but clearly it was a lack of focus and a lack of positive intention. And that brings in deceleration, it brings in guiding, and it brings in poor results. So
guiding will do that.
All of that happens during that section of a final round for almost everybody. And it's also, you're tired, you're running out of mental gas, you're physically tired. If you haven't eaten or drunk properly, you're dehydrated or your blood sugar is off. Now, the pros are pretty good about eating and drinking. So it's really more the physical and even more so the mental fatigue of being in those pressure situations. And then you have, excuse the expression, brain farts, which is basically what it looked like happened on a couple of the wedge on 13 and the wedge on 18. So it's like, where did that come from?
Yeah.
Well, it came from loss of focus and positive intention and commitment to the shot.
I was fascinated in a lot of the post-round interviews. He kept talking about how proud he was of himself to get through
because he came back from that. He came back from that. Yep. And he did that after the first round. He came back from that adversity. And he talked about his resilience. And that is
he kept talking about, I was having a great round. I had 2 bad holes, but I had focus on how well I was playing before that.
Yep. So that's why we have all these aspects of Zen Golf as taking a different perspective, not focusing on the bad shots, but focusing on what you do well, and then going through your process, and then maintaining that positive attitude about yourself that you can accomplish what you're trying to accomplish.
Dr. Joe, I am so curious as to what brought you to call the book, or what is your history that led you to write a book that you would call Zen Golf, which is not a term that most golfers before this book would have ever used. And it's fascinating that you got to that point. What brought you there?
Well, what I wanted to do was to bring some of the teachings that I had experienced to make it a blend of Eastern and Western psychology. The Eastern wisdom traditions, Buddhism and Taoism, Zen, which is a kind of one of the schools of Buddhism, are actually in their original form more of a psychology than a religion. You could say it's a kind of spiritual psychology, which is understanding the mind and understanding how we, how we get in our own way and techniques for getting out of our own way. So that's really my background, as well as my degree in Western psychology. So I was able to blend those together. And so I included a lot of the traditional Zen stories, which are very illustrative of how we get in our own way and how we can get out of our own way. One of the stories is a musician went to a great master and said, how should I, what's the way that I should work with playing my instrument and tune it just right? And he said, he was asking, how do I work with my mind? And the teacher said, well, how do you work with your instrument? See, we want to use real life examples to help us understand how we work with our mind. He said, how do you tune the strings of your instrument? He said, well, I make sure that they're not too tight and not too loose. Said, that's how you should work with your mind. Not too tight, not too loose. So we take that into our golf practice and we say, okay, you need to be somewhat focused, but not hyper focused and uptight, and not too whatever, and not too relaxed and lose your focus. So one of the things that I've been teaching lately is where your energy is. Whenever somebody says, I'm kind of in my head and all my thoughts, and they use their hands up here, around their head, and what I want people to do is use their breathing. When we breathe in, we gather. When we breathe out, we let go. Literally, we're gathering our breath in and then letting it go out. So they activate different parts of our nervous system. And the part of the nervous system that the out-breath activates lets us relax and settle. So we use the out-breath as a way to settle down. And so I asked people, have you ever heard the expression down tight? They say, no. I said, it doesn't exist. We're only uptight. We only get worked up about things. We only tense up. We don't tense down. And I promise, on the other
calm
hand,
down.
On the other hand, no one has ever calmed up.
It's true. Got me.
So take a breath and calm the brain down.
Did you need a beep on that one? I can give you. I can do that. Yeah, you don't have to do that. Okay.
No. That's good.
That's good. There's a great docuseries on right now called Celtic City, about the history of the Boston Celtics. And at one point during it, they talk about how great basketball, when all the parts are working together, and we're talking about the teammates and whatnot, is jazz, is just like jazz. Because you have everyone who is highly skilled at what they're doing, and yet they can go free form with it and stay within themselves, right?
I think the key word is improvisation.
Improvisation.
That's the key word. You have a plan, but then you encounter the situation, and then you have to improvise. What did Mike Tyson say? He said, you have a plan for your boxing round until you get
hit in the face.
That's right. And the military says, all our battle plans are perfect until we encounter the enemy.
Yeah.
So at that point, you have to improvise. But to improvise means to rely on your skills. And the cool thing of applying this to the golf course is, think about how we practice on the range. We give ourselves perfect lies each time, and it's perfectly flat. And then we hit shots. When we get out on the golf course, suddenly 1 foot's in the bunker and 1 foot out, or the ball's below our feet, above our feet. If I were to design a practice range, I would put mounds of different sizes along in different places on the range, so that you could practice. You get on the mound and you drop it on the backside, the front side, left, right, and you've got all those kinds of 4 shots. But when we get on the golf course, we have to improvise. And that means trusting the skills that we have, and also being realistic about the skills that we have, and not trying shots that we have no business trying. Now, why do amateurs try those crazy shots?
Because they've seen them on TV.
No, that's not why.
Oh, okay.
The reason is because of the 19th hole. When you come in, and you're not going to say, "Oh man, I shot this beautiful 92. It was really, really, what a great round." You're going to say, on the 5th hole, I was behind this tree and I cut it around the tree and ran it up between the bunkers and got it to 4 feet. Don't ask me about the putt. But so you need a hero shot to talk about in the bar after the round, and that's why amateurs try those crazy shots, just so they can say, "I pulled that one off," because they're not hitting such great shots all the way around. But I'd like people to shift their focus and love the way it leaves the club face, And then you're going to remember lots and lots of shots that felt really good. And it will inspire you to do a better job of preparation, because that's your goal, to want to have that feel of how the shot takes off. So, the most important thing after Zen Golf was all the other books that I wrote were offshoots of that. Zen Putting and Golf, the Art of the Mental Game. I was introduced to someone who owned the rights to these beautiful Ravioli drawings.
Mm-hmm.
So I developed very short one-page golf tips that kind of matched up, with the drawings. And so that's where that book came out of. And then How to Make Every Putt was my last golf book. And it was really a revision of Zen Putting. Zen Putting had a lot of philosophy in it as well. And How to Make Every Putt is really the practical. It's funny, Zen Golf had one chapter, How to Make Every Putt. Zen Putting had a section called How to Make Every Putt. And then the whole book is called How to Make Every Putt on the last one. And then I was invited to do a few other books beyond golf. Zen Tennis with my dear friend Bill Scanlon, who has sadly since passed away.
I'm sorry.
And I was asked to by friends and my teacher to write a diet book, because it's using the same kinds of principles to change habits. There are no menus in my diet book. It's all ways of changing your attitude and changing your habits, and that's been successful.
Congratulations. That's awesome.
You asked me about the title. I picked a funny title for that one because I picked it based on search engines. When people search for a book, there are so many diet books out there.
Yeah.
What are you going to search for? The best diet book. So I called it The Best Diet Book Ever. But the subtitle is The Zen of Losing Weight. We kept the Zen theme. Okay. And the last book that I wrote is kind of my favorite as a, excuse the expression, bookend to Zen Golf. And that's actually for families, and it's not about golf. My sister, who worked for Disney for a long time, one of the Disney editors asked her to ask me to work on a book on mindfulness and kindness and compassion, love, gratitude, courage, all these positive family values using Winnie the Pooh and friends. So it's called A Walk in the Wood, Meditations on Mindfulness with a Bear Named Pooh. Mm. We wrote 16 individual stories that goes through a day in the life of Winnie the Pooh and his friends. And then after each story, I wrote meditation instructions, sometimes outdoor meditations on nature, sometimes contemplations on relationships with others, as I said, love and gratitude, sometimes on reflections on life of impermanence and interdependence. So it's a book for all ages. Somebody said, what's the age range? And I said 4 to 104. And it's that people can read it with youngsters, with young people, and then use the instruction sections to give age-appropriate introductions to mindfulness, awareness, and the values of kindness and compassion, love, and gratitude.
Well, I guess you didn't figure out that you were going to be a successful author when you you started with Zen Golf, when you were starting your psychology practice. That your life would have taken you to be a really accomplished published author. Congratulations!
Thank you. And actually, my idea for a golf book at the beginning, I was writing 2-page articles for golf magazines. And I said, when I get enough of them, I'll pop them together into a book, because I already knew books with long chapters people never make it through. You look and say, how long is this chapter? They go 15 pages. Oh, I don't have time for that. But they have time to, if they see, 2.5 pages, I can do that. And they'll read 15 pages, but 2.5 at a time.
Yeah.
It's bite size.
Yeah.
So I had already planned, and Zen Golf is a 200-page book with 70 chapters, 2.5 pages each, So that was the intention. But again, through my sister, I was introduced to an opportunity to publish the book and was able to make it happen a little faster than 2-page articles all the way through.
Well, I'm going to have to get that book and put it in my library. I
When
really want to do
when we
it.
started over, I was just holding up, that's the Walk in the Wood book.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so proud of it. And it was so much fun to work on it with my
your sister.
Yeah. So that's kind of my little baby, my little favorite.
Oh, that's sweet. What I'd like to do, if we can, is get more examples of how on the golf course, not in life, but we'll connect those dots when we get there. But on the golf, how we get in our own way, whether it's bad bounces, beating ourselves up on things that we have no control. And I'm going to stop here because I want you to do it. But how do we get in our own way? And how do we correct that?
Well, you said, we're talking about golf, not life, but there's an old saying, I think it was Dave Hill, one of the old pros, he said, golf and life are a lot alike. It's just that golf's a little more complicated.
Whoa.
so of course it's I was telling you another time that I had a student who got very angry, a junior got very angry at bad bounces. And like he'd hit a shot right at the green and it would hit a sprinkler head in front of the green and bounce over and out of bounds. And he was furious. And I said, why are you so angry? He said, well, it was not fair. And I said, so if you hit it into the woods and it hits a tree and bounces back into the fairway, you get angry at that too, huh? He said, no. I said, but that isn't fair. He went, oh. So it's just, it's all about getting the results we want and being attached to those results so that when they don't come out, we feel like, why did this happen to moi? Why did this happen to me? And we apply that to life as well as golf. Why did that happen to me? Now, we could talk about karma, but that's a whole deeper topic. But basically, if we say, okay, that is what happened, and what can I learn from it, rather than why did that happen to me, or what's wrong with me that happened, and beat ourselves up, as you said. Instead, saying, okay, what can I learn from this? And then we have the possibility of improving. So getting in our own way, there are many ways that we do that. And they all have to do with outcome, with how things are going to turn out, and attachment to the way we want them to turn out. For moi, for me. How do I want things to turn out for me? And if we can get out of ourselves and say, I want things to turn out better for others, that actually is helpful, because then we're not in our own way. As a golf instructor, I got to tell you, I hit my best shots when I'm demonstrating, when I'm not doing it for me, but I'm doing it for others.
Wow.
That's when I hit my best shots. And I've talked to a number of other instructors, and it's all the same, because we're out of the self-centered orientation and just doing it for others, to show others. So that's one of the things. When we're getting up over a shot, we get in our own way, creating interference with swinging the way we are capable of because of worry about results. I worked with Christy Kerr and helped her get to number 1 in the world. She had a great acronym, worry about results. The acronym is WAR, war. When I worry about results, I'm at war with myself.
Wow.
So when you're at war with yourself and you don't trust, then as you get over the shot, you say, I want it to draw. I think I better help it draw. or I want it to fade, I better help it. I want it to go far, I better help it go far. Those are not so useful, to say the least. Or we haven't targeted properly and we say, I got to stay away from that out of bounds on the left, or I've got to stay away from that pond on the right. And then we hit an avoiding or preventing swing. Sometimes combine them. I need to stay away from that pond on the right, so I really need this to draw. And then we do double duty and hit it out of bounds on the left. I usually say, really good job avoiding the pond on the right.
Mm.
Not so good hitting the fairway, but really good job of avoiding what you were trying to avoid. And then the last one, third part, combination, and that is not so untrusting that we get guidey and just try to steer it where we want it to go, which is a combination of trusting and not trusting, of helping and avoiding together. So none of those are helpful. The key is, again, pick a plan that you can commit to, a feel swing that you can trust, and then do your best to love the way it leaves the club face, whether it's a putter, an iron, or a driver.
Wow, that sounds like a perfect close for the show, but it's not, because I have one more thing. I want to keep going. I played with someone recently and at his golf club, and with every hole, because it's the club that he belongs to, with every hole, he gave me, I felt he was over instructing with all the hazards and all the difficulties and all the problems. And I'm like, where am I going to put it? I don't want to know where I don't want to go. Please. I want to know what's my target, what's the distance, so I know what club I'm bringing. Can I take driver here? And I just, like, my head was kind of exploding and I couldn't, say anything, but he went on. It was like TMI, man. It was just too much information.
Right. Yeah, you have to be, the communication is delicate in those situations.
Yeah.
So at a certain point, after he's gone through all of those things, you say, okay, given all of those challenges, what's the safest line for me to take?
Right.
And then he'll give you the positive. Well, you want to aim at that bush right over there.
Perfect. Thank you.
Now, do I want to start it at that, or is that where I want it to come down? Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I think you want it to come down on that. Oh, thank you. Well, I'm going to play a draw to there, so I'm going to start a little bit right of that.
And then we bring it back to aim to a spot, play to an area.
There you go.
Right. So you've alluded to the fact that we know that you're, a PhD doctor, but you're also a golf instructor, right? Have you had training with that, or you just work with golfers?
People say, are you a golf instructor? Well, I'm a golf instructor, but I'm not a swing instructor.
Uh-huh.
I don't teach swing technique. Now, I know enough from working with players. For example, I had a pro that I was working with. This is just by video. I didn't see him hit the shot, but he was describing a shot of a wedge into a left pin position, and it overdrew and went into the bunker on the side of the pin. And he said it was just a bad shot. And I said, was it just a bad shot? What were you trying to do? Was it a full swing shot? He said, no, I was trying to take a little bit off of it.
Mm-hmm.
I said, aha, okay. So the pros, when they take a little bit off of it, often pull it to the left because they're so used to using their body in the swing and their body and their arms together. Taking a little bit off of it, they don't make as big a movement with their body. Their arms keep going at full speed. Off it goes for right-handers, off it goes to the left. So what I said was, you need to give the new plan time to sink in. I have a chapter in Zen Golf called Give It Time to Sink In.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to make 4 or 5 practice swings, getting your body and your arms in sync rather than just 1 or 2. Because your brain is still going to tell your arms to swing at full speed, but it's going to tell your body to slow down. And you don't want those two crossing. So there's an example that you would talk about it as a swing instruction, but it's really a mental thing about how the brain runs the muscles. That's what the mental game is about. It's not just mental. It's how your mind and your body work together or don't.
Dr. Joe, it is such an honor to be a friend of yours and to have you agree to come on to our show and to be able to start the next 1,000 with you as we started the whole process. I truly appreciate it, and I can't thank you enough.
Always fun to talk with you, Fred.